Since 2012, Mike Trout has arguably been the best player in baseball. During that time, he has spent the majority of it unrivaled. Year after year, he consistently puts up numbers that rival the likes of Mickey Mantle and Ken Griffey Jr. in their prime. In the spring of 2021, Trout entered his age 30 season, and he seemed poised to keep this torrid pace. To begin 2021, Trout played strong, posting over a 350 batting average entering May and leading the majors in many statistical categories. Unfortunately, in mid-May, Trout suffered a season-ending injury that killed his chances for a fourth AL MVP. With the end result to Trout's season, we have seen a constant trend of an injury-prone player. In this video, we will take an in-depth look into Trout and see if he can still be proclaimed the best player in baseball. To get a better look at this, we will look at his most recent stats compared to some of the best players in baseball, factor in his age and recent events that may slow him down, and try to project Trout's future play. Buckle up, get your favorite food and drink ready because this video may become very controversial. So when we look at trying to determine if Mike Trout is the best player in baseball, the first thing we have to look at is his most recent stats. So for this video, we will be looking at Trout's stats going back to his age 26 season, which is back to 2018. It gives us Trout's most recent numbers. It'll look at a season he finished second in the MVP, a season he finished fifth in MVP voting, where he won the MVP, in 2019 as well. And then 2021 will have a 36-game sample size. So when we look at Trout's numbers across the board, he pretty much leads the league in on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS in a lot of these years. He's also towards the top. His OPS plus in 2018 and 2019 led the league. In 2021, even though he only played in 36 games, his OPS plus was well on the way to leading in the league. 2020, he finished in the top 5 in OPS plus. So when you look at the numbers, Trout is constantly leading the majors or near the top in every category. Batting average has fluctuated a little bit from 312 to 291 to 81, 333. On base percentage has been well above 400 except for 1 year. And in that year, it wasn't above 400. It was at 390. So either way, it's been floating around 400. So any way you look at it, Mike Trout has really been an elite hitter at the plate, no matter how you slice it. The number to really determine an elite hitter in terms of on-base percentage is right around 400. And for his career, he's been at 419. So he's great. Slugging, like I said, a couple years he led the league during that span. It's constantly been over 600, which makes him an elite hitter. When he gets hits, he's getting lots of doubles, triples, and home runs. His OPS plus, when you add these numbers together, leading the way again. So really, when you look at Trout's numbers, they don't really show any signs of decline. The problem is when you get older and you have injuries like this year, Trout had a calf strain. He took the longest time of any player since the Statcast era in trying to recover from a calf strain. So that's not something you want to see. And especially with Trout going into his age 30 season next year, he's getting older. He's getting towards the end of his prime. In this chart, we kind of gauge a broad spectrum of his prime. But as you get older, injuries take more of a toll, especially injuries to your lower body, your calves, your knees, ankles. They just take longer to heal, and they can start to slow you down, especially when you play a grueling position like center field, like Trout does. But as we move forward, we're going to look at comparing Trout to 3 different players: Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Mookie Betts. These are 3 players I think can challenge for the #1 player in baseball if you can make an argument for them. I'm going to leave Shohei Ohtani out of this just because This year in 2021, Ohtani was the best player in baseball. There's no doubt about that. But you just need to see him do more of what he's been doing this season on a more consistent basis. So if he does that same thing next year or can do it at a high level, he doesn't have to repeat the same numbers, even if he can just produce at a high level. The next part of this video we are going to be looking at is comparing Mike Trout's numbers to Juan Soto's numbers. So with Trout's injuries over the last couple seasons, we have to try to break down data and seasons and try to get the closest we can get to comparison. So for Soto, we're going to be looking at 2019 to 2021. And Trout, since he missed a big portion of 2021, we'll go back into 2018 and go to 2021. So for Soto, it'll be his age 20 to 22 seasons, and for Trout, it'll be his age 26 to 29 seasons. The difference will be about 12 games. It'll be about 84 plate appearances. So over that span of time, Trout, even though he played more games, he had more plate appearances, he had 15 more hits, 2 more doubles, 2 more triples, 33 more home runs, 5 more RBIs, more stolen bases. They walked the same amount of times. Trout struck out a lot more. Batting average goes to Soto. On base percentage just goes to Trout. Slugging goes to Trout. OPS goes to Trout. And OPS plus goes to Trout. So when you look at these numbers, you see that Soto is more disciplined at the plate. He is striking out far less. He's walking at a higher rate. He's getting more hits. But the difference is with Trout's hits, he's getting more doubles, getting more triples, hitting more home runs. His slugging percentage is just higher. And that's just something that where Soto's a more disciplined hitter, Trout's been more of an aggressive hitter, and he's doing more with his hits when he gets a hit. So when you think about it, even though Trout has just 5 more RBIs, he's making his hits more impactful. And that shows with the OPS plus is much higher. So when it comes down to, you have to wonder, how can you really compare these two? Trout's in his prime and Soto's just beginning his career. And that's the one thing that works to Soto's advantage. While currently at this time and over this span, Trout was the better player, no doubt. But Soto is just starting to get into his prime, and it's scary to think that he can be so disciplined at the plate and he can put up these kinds of numbers being so young. And it really looks a lot like a young Mike Trout. But the thing is, Soto's slugging numbers are going to go up as time goes on, as he can figure out how to, get more doubles, get more homers, just driving the ball more or hit the ball more. It's just going to go up. But this video is about right now. Who's the best player going forward, best player in baseball entering the 2022 season? And when you look at numbers, it's hard to see if you can really give it to one, so it'll just based strictly on these numbers. But as we get more into that, we can get more into seeing if Trout's declining over with his injuries, because his injury span has been quite significant. I mean, Trout, you've seen this season with his calf injury, like I stated before, he's been one of the more stress injuries on him compared to other people who've had similar injuries. So as we move on and looking at the other players, we'll eventually get into seeing if Trout's showing any signs of decline. But for this has been the Juan Soto section. So now we'll move on to the Ronald Acuna Jr. section. So now as we look at Ronald Acuna Jr. versus Mike Trout, what we can see here is going back to the 2019 to the 2021 seasons, we have about roughly a 671 game difference. You look at Trout has 68 less hits, 8 less doubles, 2 more triples, 9 less home runs, and 14 less RBIs. The average goes Trout's way. On base percentage goes Trout's way. Slugging percentage is in favor of Trout. OPS is in favor of Trout. OPS plus is in favor of Trout. So when you look at this, you see that Trout is a more patient hitter at the plate. He's producing at higher rates. He's obviously getting on base more. The only thing that Acuna really has more than Trout in is stolen bases, but if you look at the stolen base percentage, Trout's is at 88%, and Acuna's is at far lower. So this is showing that even though Acuna is stealing more on the base path, Trout is doing it more efficiently and effectively. And that goes back to just the fact that Trout's just decisive on the base path. He picks and chooses when to steal and when not to steal more frequently. Acuna is more of the just aggressive. He's just going to go for it. He's going to try to impact the game in any way he can, when Trout tries to pick and choose on the base path when he's going to go. And if you think about it, it's more effective in a way, just because of the fact that Trout picks and chooses. He's higher up baseball IQ. It just demonstrates that his elite base running ability. That's not saying Acuna is not an elite base runner, but the fact that he can pick and choose when to go, or the fact that Trout can pick and choose when to go, that just gives him the edge, in my opinion. And I just think that when you come down to it, Trout just is a way better player than Acuna is currently at this time. I mean, like Soto, Acuna's much younger than Trout, but the difference in their game is it's just a lot. I mean, Acuna's a great player. He's a top 5 player in baseball, but like Soto, his biggest benefit is he still has time. He can still grow and become an even greater player than he already is, but it's going to take some time. Like Trout, he's going to have to try to find a way to stay off the injury list, because Acuna got injured last season. He's going to miss a big portion of the 2022 season. So we're just going to have to see how that plays out. But in the next portion of this video, we will see the Mookie Betts portion, which may be the closest we have seen so far. So as we move into the Mookie Betts portion of this video, comparing him to Trout, the strongest point to point out is, in this comparison, we'll see both the players in their primes. We'll look at 2018 to 2021. During that time, Mookie Betts has played in 100 more games than Trout. Trout's hit 9 more home runs. Mookie Betts has 10 more RBIs. Mookie Betts has almost 60 more doubles, 5 more triples. The strikeout, Trout has struck out more times than Mookie. Trout has walked 24 more times than Mookie. And Mookie has 28 more stolen bases than Trout, and their batting average is separated by 1 point. Their on-base percentage, Trout has about a 40-point advantage. Slugging, Mookie has about an 80-point advantage. And on-base percentage, Trout has about a 130-point advantage. OPS plus, Trout has about a 40-point advantage. So really, when you break down these numbers, if you look at strikeout percentage, walk percentage, Mookie beats Trout in strikeout percentage. He's striking out at a far less rate, about a 7% difference, but also at almost a 7% difference, Trout is walking more. Extra base hits, they're about equal. At-bats per home run, Trout's hitting more home runs more frequently. Trout's striking out about 2 at-bats quicker, and Trout is getting an RBI about 2 at-bats quicker. So when you look at this, this is probably the closest comparison we have so far. Just in terms of, we have 2 players in their primes. Going forward, they're separated by a year. Both of them have seen injuries throughout their careers, but Trout suffered a little more. They both have accolades. So when we look at this, as the numbers show, Trout is still showing to be the better player. But as stated before, with Trout's injury, how is that going to project for 2022? Will Mookie have the advantage on him? Will Trout's calf injury slow him down? As we look into the numbers, we'll see this going forward. But for the next portion of this video, we'll look at Trout's year by year, his base running, hitting, exit, velo, all that different stuff, and we'll see if Trout's seen any kind of decline. So as we move into the next portion over on Baseball Savant, this will conclude the section on the Mookie bets. Here we are over on Baseball Savant to look at Mike Trout over, and we'll see in this section if he has shown any signs of decline over the last couple of years. So for this, we will be relying on Statcast. So with the Statcast information, we can see this standard, his statistics. We've already seen a lot of this on Baseball Reference, so it's really, there's no signs of decline within his counting stats. But what we can do with this is we can look at Statcast, we can look at batting, we'll look at batted balls, we'll look at barrel percentage, we'll look at the exit velo, the max EV, launch angle, sweet spot, xwOBA, K percentage, and we'll see if he's really showing any signs of declining. So from 2018 through 2021, Trout's exit velo has been above 90 every season. So there's really, on the face, is really not seeing any sign of any declination there. On max EV, same thing, no declining. It's really hovered right around 115, 114. 2018, in his last MVP year, it was 118. So really there, it's not too bad. It's gone down a little bit, but nothing to really write home about. It's not showing any sign of declining. His sweet spot percentage has been right around 36 to 38 for his career. It spiked in 2018 and 2019 with 41%, 44%. So those were 2 of the best years of his career. So you can't really, say much there. K percentage did go up in 2021 a little bit, but it was up around the league. But with his K percentage going up, he also walked more. So I don't know if I'd really say that the K percentage going up a couple points, well, 5 points, is really much to really show any signs of declining. I just think that early in the year, it was difficult pitching. I mean, the numbers were up, and numbers were up for pitchers, and offensive stats were starting to go down because, the balls and the use of foreign substances. So I can't really fault Mike Trout for that. But when we look at fielding, his Statcast outs above average. His success rate has been right around 90. It's gone down in 87, 90, 85 in 2021. So that's his success rate. So his estimated success rate is right around 89, 94. He outperformed his estimated success rate by 1% every year from 2020 to 2021. In 2018-19, it was right around 2%. In center field in 2019, I guess it was negatives, but it's only 1%. So I wouldn't really say that's really showing any signs of declining. Let's look at running. So his sprint speed from 2015 to 2021, it's been roughly the same. There's showing no declining there. He's still one of the fastest players in the league. I mean, I think he's in the 96th percentile of all hitters. So he's not showing any decline there. For his age breakdowns, his expected WOBA, it's pretty consistent curve, except 2018 and down, but it's go up. So he's above the MLB average. So for most of it. So I mean, he's really not much you can really say. He's just been, since 2015, he's just been the best player in baseball. And so far through 2021, you really can't see any signs of decline. Statcast zones, he's making contact in his zones. So everything looks good for Mike Trout. Really, I think in order to see if he's really showing any signs of decline, we'll have to look at 2022 coming off of injury, because so far through 2021, we didn't get to see him come back from injury because they shut him down. So we haven't really had anything to gauge him yet. But just to point out, 2021 percentile rankings, sprint speed was in the 96th percentile, which is great. His exit velocity was also in the 96th percentile, so that's something we'll keep an eye on going forward. We can revisit this at the beginning of the 2022 season or midway through, and we can see how he performs. But as we move forward with this, I would like to thank you for watching the video and keep an eye out for any more content. And if you like the content, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.